your full value. Unless you've got some kind of a rebate agreement. You don't even realize really that you're in a TIF. You're paying property tax just like normal and you don't really know where it's going because it's still leaving your pocket. If you have an abatement, you're not paying property tax at all, at least on the value that gets the tax abatement. And there are a number of different sections of the code where counties and cities can do a tax abatement, varying percentages and for varying lengths of time. So that's the end of TIF. I think we're about out of time, so I think I'll just skip the quiz on the last parts of the slide. You can take that for yourself, and we'll just skip right to questions. There's one back in the yellow, and then the gentleman over here. Ladies first.
Okay, my question is on the bonds for the TIF. You would not use TIF to retire revenue bonds. That would only, is that correct?
Say that again?
You would not use TIF to retire revenue bonds. You have bonds listed as one of the, but you would not use that for revenue bonds.
I mean, not unless the revenue
Didn't
project was
materialize.
intended to be the TIF growth. I mean, typically the revenue bonds would be for some kind of a project that's going to generate, you know, an enterprise that's going to generate its own money.
Right.
I mean, so I think that'd be unusual unless the revenue project was the development itself. Question over here?
Yeah, I was just curious if you knew, if you have an income surtax in a district and it lowers the at that time it'll lower the property tax rate and actually the actual taxes collected, but does that money become the taxes that you could have collected but didn't, but does that become part of the spending authority for the future or the unspent balance?
Boy, the school aid formula is not really my forte. I think the idea is that the income surtax just takes the place of property tax, so it doesn't, I mean, the spending authority is the same as what it would have been. It's just the revenue comes from a different location. That's my understanding. One more up here.
Tax abatement. On the tax abatement for development, is that abatement percentage applied to the total assessed value in all cases? And as I understand it, incrementally goes down percentage-wise over a 10-year period. But is the percentage applied to the total assessed value?
If it's a brand new project, could be. I mean, a lot of times it's the percentage of the increased value. So even if it's barren land, there's some land on the property, and then the percentage abatement is the percentage of the improvement. So not of the total assessed value, but only of the improvement since the abatement was granted. But if it's a brand new facility, I mean, most of that is going to be new improved value, so most of the abatement will apply to that.
It is your opinion that the abatement in suppose we just have property and we just have land, and then we develop that land and put buildings on it, and now the assessed value is set, that abatement percentage will be applied to 100% of the assessed valuation. Is that a correct statement?
Not necessarily. Only the increase in value over the barren land amount.
I got it. Take land out of the question. Land is assessed. Property, our structures are assessed. Take the land out. Only the structure. Is 100% of that structure abatement applied to the assessed valuation of that structure?
Well, I mean, if you had a 100% abatement and the structure was totally new value, then yes, and that abatement would apply to that entire structure. But there are also abatements that start at 80% for a couple of years and then 60%. But yeah, it should apply to the entire value.
To the entire assessed value. If it does not, is that an improper application?
Well, I mean, I don't know. We'd have to see what the agreement was. I mean, you can tailor abatements in a number of different ways to individual projects. And so it's hard to give a blanket answer as, without knowing any more details. So.
Is, in your opinion, the intention of the abatement to always apply to 100% of the assessed value of the structure?
Well, you can do a sliding scale. I mean, I guess I don't understand. You don't always have to abate the full value. No, you can abate less than that. And that's pretty common to do that.
I guess I didn't understand that.
I mean, it's pretty common to have an abatement that says, okay, for the first 2 years, we're going to abate 100% of the new value. For the next 2 years, we're going to abate 80% of the new value. For the next 2 years, it's going to be 60%, so forth.
The question really is, it always applied to the total assessed value?
It's the total new value. I mean, it only applies to the value generated after the abatement. But I think we're talking about the same thing. I think yes is the answer.
Okay, thank you. Everybody heard that, I hope.
Oh, one more here. Well, if you're paying a TIF tax, I don't think you're paying any more in taxes. It's just that part of what you are paying is going to a TIF fund of a city. I mean, there are also, now they could be like cities have the authority to do, like, I think they're called special municipal improvement districts. I mean, cities have the authority to do different things that are actually going to be an additional tax then. But if we're just talking about a normal TIF district, there shouldn't be any new tax on that. It's just part of the taxes you're paying are going to the TIF fund. Well, there's the one I'm thinking of is I think it's called a special municipal improvement district, but it's just a district that the city sets up and a special tax they levy to pay for new projects or improvements within that particular district. But I don't know if that's the case in your situation or not. Anything else? Well, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks Gina for having us out here. Thanks Des Moines County.
Did anybody have any of the white slips filled out that they wanted questions asked, or did everybody get their questions answered that they wanted to ask?
I had a question on homestead credit.
Fire.
I had a question on homestead credit. They're taking half of it away from us this year, and all of it will be gone next year. Are they going to give us a credit in any other way?
Well, remember the governor only proposed cutting it by half. The legislature actually kept funding the same level for next year as it is for this year. So it's going to be at the same $100 million level, so your homestead credit should be roughly comparable next year to what you got this year. Now what they do in the future, who knows, because it is an expensive program and state revenues are tight, but it's safe for at least one more year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask about the veteran credit.
Okay?
Are they getting their credit now, and will they continue to get their credit?
Well, who knows if it'll continue or not, but they are getting it now. It is funded at 100%.
Is that exemption on their income tax form, or is it on their home?
On their property tax. So if they're a homeowner, they could get a homestead credit, and they'd also get an exemption, the military exemption on their home.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I want to thank everybody for coming today. I hope you got all of your questions answered. Don't forget to fill out the orange questionnaires, and there's a box on the back table to put those in. And I'd like to give Bill and Jay one last round of applause for their help today. Thank you for coming.